Allow my guests, ha ha ha, to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves, who they are playing tonight before we dive into this. And I would like first to introduce you to the person who knows respiratory systems better than anyone else I've ever had on any of my streams. And that would be Bones. What's up, Bones?
Hi. That's
Hi.
me.
That's you.
I'm Little Bones. I have the smallest bones on the internet. That's just what I'm known for, along with indie games and being a menace around the web to all of my friends. And I play the very sweet, very pious Odette, who is just absolutely doing her best and has love to pine over.
But she received a pretty nice offer last game.
Yeah, she's engaged now to Henri.
Because it was massive.
The rock was huge.
It's huge. Win you over right then and there. Let's see if Henry survives this particular night. That's like, I'm not in the will yet. You can't kill him just yet.
Not yet. She needs to be in the will first. Thank you.
There you go. Speaking of wills, someone who's definitely in mine and will be giving everything I own, which is really nothing. Mornian, hey, what's up, Mornian? How you doing?
I am great. Thank you very much for putting me in your will. I
No
appreciate
problem.
that. It's the thought that counts.
That's literally all you're going to get.
That's all I need. I am Mornian. I play Anton, the always angry, always contemplative pot stirrer. We'll see how that works out for him tonight. Maybe some things don't work out. Who knows? I'm scared. But apart from being Anton, again, I am Mornian. Don't really stream as much as I used to. Thinking about getting back into it, so we'll see about that. But you can almost always find me in any one of these lovely lady streams if they're online. Being a general pain in the butt.
And a good help. A good help. I mean,
I try.
You're out there doing God's work with the moderating, and the only moderator I have right here is Creep, so
I wish you the best of luck.
Yep, that's how these cookies crumble. Speaking of cookies, the person who is as sweet as a cookie and who doesn't crumble under the pressure yet, Myriad. What's up, Myriad?
That's the first time anyone's ever said I'm as sweet as a cookie. Wow. Bleak doesn't know me that well yet. Hi guys, I'm Myriad, or Myriad, whatever you want to call me is fine. Don't call me Myriad underscore because that's my government name. I stream here on twitch.tv/Myriad underscore X. I play a wide variety of games, currently on that Baldur's Gate hyperfixation. So you can normally catch me right now the Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then sprinkle in other days during the week. And then I'm everywhere else playing various TTRPGs. And I am playing Fleur. She is a Toreador vampire who was is a painter. And she's just a little gal doing her best
in a difficult time. Myriad's out there.
Doesn't want to be here anymore. Chicago wasn't the place for her, apparently. She should have kept going west.
Should have stayed where she was. I hear San Francisco is nice this time of year. Or so they say. Myriad's out there just, reloading save after save of romance scenes in Baldur's Gate, and
it's true.
Still in Act 1, and the character is level 39. That's what I'm told by Mornian. Thank you so much, Myriad, for being here. Appreciate it. Yes, you are totally sweet. You're totally sweet. Totally sweet, like a cookie. But like one of those cookies with raisins in it, so sometimes you hit a patch that's like...
Yo, I love me an oatmeal raisin cookie, okay?
See? I knew there was something wrong with you somewhere along the way. Thank you for revealing it before, things got too serious. Thank you so much, Myriad, for being here. And finally, last but not least, creeping in the shadows, hiding from everyone and everything, and just poking out to poke at things. The creep. Darling Creep Show.
Hi, that's me. I'm Darling Creep Show. I don't know where that voice came from. I just needed something that was completely opposite from whatever this is. I'm playing Agravain tonight. Your Nosferatu, ex-Templar knight who has fallen very, very far from grace.
Very far, and yet still quite a bit to fall. Do you think you have the testicular fortitude to survive that fall?
I guess we'll find out tonight, won't we?
Tonight's game. Does Creep have the testicular fortitude? Thanks so much, Creep, for being here. You know, I always appreciate you. Yeah, so I'm Bleak Season. You know that. If you're here hanging out, thanks so much for being here and checking us out. Tonight's music will be by Ivan Dutch, as it has been throughout this entire chronicle of ours. Amazing music. Please check out Mr. Dutch's websites and his good stuffs. The other parts, as well as this one, as soon as I get around to it, are on VOD. So if you need to catch up, or well, in fact, if you haven't seen the first 3 parts, just go ahead and watch them now. We'll just wait. We'll wait for you to come back.
We'll wait. It's fine.
Just let us know when you're back from having watched the first 3.
9 hours later.
Well, that was nice. Oh God, I'm stiff now. I think I need to go to the bathroom. Thanks so much for being. Yes, you can check us out on my YouTube page for the VODs, and if you want to help out our friends here tonight, who may be in a slight spot of trouble, you can donate some vampire bites, some vampire bits. 100 bits gets the player of your choice an advantage, which in this case is an automatic success, which is not bad. And for 300 bits, you can buy 1 for each player, which Sith has already done. Thank you, Sithy. So I hope everyone took down note that you have an advantage each. I appreciate everyone being here, and let us, without further ado, check out what lies in store for us in Chicago. We are in Chicago, as I just said. It is 1929. Last night, there was a gangland slaying with 7 members of a criminal organization being shot and killed. Oh, thank you very much, Pixie Lady. Another advantage for everyone in the business here. Thank you, Andrea. These criminal elements that were assassinated were members of the criminal gangs that work for the prince and the sheriff of the city, and they are believed to have been killed by one Federico Giovanni, freshly in from New York with some of his guys. And while the two sides have been kind of at odds a little bit now, it looks like it's probably going to be full-out war. One person who was kind of caught in the middle of all that was our friend Anton, who, working for the sheriff, had been sent to the Boundary Clan, which was a third party that was involved in the smuggling of alcohol, to spy on them. And in turn, he was spying on the sheriff and the prince for them. So he kind of found himself a little bit sort of in between all of them. And he has currently a huge shipment of alcohol and other illicit goods stashed in his friend Agravain's basement. So Agravain, who now resides in the infamous hotel where H.H. Holmes murdered a whole bunch of people during the World Columbian Exposition some years before. And in the basement now is all this contraband. Meanwhile, Odette was very busy being romanced by her human lover, an older gentleman named Henry, who just proposed to her, being very taken in by Odette's piety and her grace, and the fact that she is, a little bohemian on the sides, and that kind of titillates old Henry, and he likes that. So he proposed, and Odette accepted just in time to run into Fleur. Now, Fleur and Odette in the 1380s, long time ago in France, a little bit of a thing going on. It never went too far, but there was certainly a lot of affection, even love there. But after this group committed the ultimate sin of amaranth, of diablerizing Fleur's sire, Aveline, um, the four of them were split apart, and Odette was taken away by the man who had helped them set up this entire diablerie, one Santiago. They didn't see each other for centuries after that, but Fleur, having just recently arrived in Chicago with her niece, who is now her child, um, decided, or was trying to decide whether or not to go encounter Odette, I guess, last game. And, the universe conspired to bring them together. The four of them found themselves at the prince's Elysium, waiting to hear what the prince would declare concerning this oncoming gangland war, when suddenly the appearance of a Toreador Archon sent here to deal with this situation threw a little bit of havoc into the scene, as the Archon turned out to be Aveline, who had been diablerized so many centuries ago by this group, and it was very clear by the look that Aveline gave Fleur that there was definitely nothing wrong with her memory, that she knew exactly what they had done, and that perhaps she is here to enact vengeance. That is where we left off last game, and that is exactly where we will begin tonight after a brief little trip into the past, not too long ago, some 30 odd, perhaps 40 years earlier, during, in fact, the World Columbian Exposition, when Odette, you had found a bit of a new calling for yourself, as you had recently arrived in town. And well, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? What is it that you started doing that sort of made
Well,
you a little bit of a local celebrity?
Odette has found an ability, an inkling to a skill, craft, if you will, of being able to tell fortunes and read palms, give readings, as well as, giving the word of Christ.
Always important, the world of Christ.
Mhm.
And so you found yourself um, during the World Exposition um, with a little booth, a little stall where you did these little readings for people. It's one of the last nights of the fair. You are locking up. As always, you're one of the last to leave. One of the things, perhaps, that has fascinated you the most about what you've seen here is the advent of electricity and electric lighting, as for the first time, a good part of the exposition was, in fact, lit up with light bulbs. This was hailed as a great advancement for science and for society in general, and perhaps your character, being so fond of light, um, found an interest in them and would stay late after everybody else had gone down and wait for these lights to sort of come off or be turned off for the rest of the night. You stand there watching as these light bulbs slowly, and they're big light bulbs, and they slowly all die down, signaling the end of the day. For you, of course, it's only about halfway through your day. It's the middle of the night. But the lights have died down. People have returned to their homes. You are locking up, getting ready to go home, when suddenly you sense it. You feel it again, and you've felt this several times before. Every night, almost, not every night, but almost every night, after you finish your shift here, you sense this presence watching you, this giant looming shadow from one of the alleys. And he's there again tonight. Do you wish to do anything?
As Odette is sort of enamored with these dying lights and sort of returns back to milling about and getting herself ready to leave, she would call out to the shadow in a very soft voice, ringing, "I know you're there." She's very much unafraid. If it was going to do anything, it would have done something.
There's something a little bit different tonight. You may have tried calling out before, but there was never any response. Tonight, you actually see the shadows shift a little bit. And when I say the shadows shift, what you thought was a wall that was painted black actually seems to move. And there is an enormous silhouette that detaches itself from the shadows in the wall. And when I say enormous, I mean going on 8 feet tall, broad as 3 men, wearing a long, disheveled trench coat, smelling faintly of a mix of sewer water and something else sweet, cloying, that's been sort of spread over it to try and hide it. This shadow looms over you, and while you know you should perhaps feel some measure of fear, there really isn't. There's no sense of threat, even though it is clear this vampire that stands in front of you could end you with a flick of the wrist. It just sort of stands there, looming over you, looking down at you.
Odette's sort of going to coo at him and take a step closer and sort of crane her neck and twist her body in a way that sort of meet his face. Hello?
He extends very slowly a ginormous hand. You can see the ripped trench coat that's kind of just hanging there. He's got these rolled up gloves that the fingers are all kind of chewed off, and his fingers are huge and cracked, and you know right away, of course, this is a Nosferatu, and he reaches and very, very, very tenderly just plucks a little strand of hair, puts it behind your ear, and then, almost as if realizing he's done something he shouldn't have done, withdraws very quickly.
Her own hand would reach out and sort of give him a gentle pat on the arm and say, there, no harm has done. You've not hurt me, and I don't think you will. Is that right?
No, I would not. Odette.
I didn't quite catch it, Blake.
He says, no, I would not, Odette. I would never hurt you. You are too precious.
Curious that you know my name. Have you been watching me long?
He turns away, almost in shame. I have. I apologize. It was discourteous of me.
No, I don't think it is. And don't be shy. What is your name?
Baptiste.
Baptiste. That is a good biblical name, isn't it?
Well, at least one part of me is good.
Well, Baptiste, what is it that I can do for you?
You have already done everything I needed. I want to do something for you. And with that, he reaches into his jacket and he withdraws something that you can't see because his hands are just so ginormous. And he extends it out to you.
She'll take it.
What he drops in your hands is a devotional scapular. So it is a tiny version of the vestment that some priests wear over their shoulders. You see that it is made of etched leather. It is obviously very, very old. It is very weathered. It is definitely from many, many, many years ago. When you look at it, there are two portraits painted, and they're very cracked and old and kind of faded, but you can still make them out. On one side is the Madonna, and on the other side is Saint Damien of Molokai, the patron saint of lepers.
She's gonna hold this in her hand, and she recognizes its age and, most importantly, how significant it is to her and to the Catholic Church. And she'll look up to Baptiste and let a small smile sort of crawl across her face. This is truly the best gift I have ever received.
It's for protection. If you need it, I will come.
I certainly hope that I won't need it, but it is important to have. Strange times, aren't they?
He looks around at all the technological marvels and all the, these newfangled things that are being heralded as the future here in this exposition, and you feel a profound sense of sadness and melancholy just sort of seep out of his very pores and sort of envelop you, and he says, well, there is no fake light, he says, gesturing to the light bulbs, that could match yours. And you're not too sure exactly what happens, but the darkness in front of you seems to fold down. And when it has done sort of folding in on itself, you realize that Baptiste is gone.
Odette does the sign of the cross and puts on the devotional and finishes her work.
Several years, even decades later, in a speakeasy that serves as Prince Campbell's Elysium in Chicago, the entire place is abuzz with conversation as the Archon has just basically announced that the vampire known as Federico Giovanni is to be hounded out of town, but not necessarily killed. And that the prince has decided that he will allow the various gangs that are currently struggling against each other in Chicago to go to war. Now, you, Anton, specifically, and certainly Agravain, I don't know to what degree Fleur and Odette would be aware of these things, but know that this is a one-sided war, basically between the Irish mafia, the Irish mob, and the Boundary Clan, which has offered through Anton, possibly to help the Prince's side, although you've told the sheriff about this, but the two of you have decided to kind of keep it to yourselves for now. It would be a completely one-sided war. So you know that this is probably just a formality. But what concerns the four of you right now, perhaps more than anything else, is the fact that Aveline, Fleur's sire, your former master who used to control all of you through blood bond, has apparently returned. You are in an Elysium. You cannot take any sort of physical action or even use your disciplines without risking the entirety of the power of the Camarilla here coming down on you. But that doesn't mean that you can't talk and watch and listen. So I would like to go around here briefly and have each of you tell us a little bit where your character's at right now. What's their state of mind? What are they thinking? What are they feeling with this sudden return of Aveline, who now calls herself Aveline de Lyon, to this Elysium. And since you've had a bit of a warm-up, Bones, how about we start with Odette? Tell us a little bit what's going through her mind and what she's doing and what she's thinking right now.
Odette is confused and upset, greatly upset, and that's very much visible in her face. She remembers that name from girlhood, really, at the Abbey. She knows that is the same name as and title of the knights that came that night that she was forced on her knees and sat upon the thorns, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm. Had to
She'll
kneel
never
down on the thorns, and
Mhm.
because you had unfortunately made the faux pas of speaking to men who were in presence at the Abbey when you were not supposed to do that. And yes, the old knight that had surprised you watching them and who you had talked to, his name had been the Chevalier de Lyon.
Yeah. She is she's focused on that piece of it because that is such a vivid memory from so long ago. And in her reaction to this, she immediately sort of regresses to the Odette that Fleur knew, and sort of curls in towards Fleur and is seeking that comfort that she once gave her.
Has Odette prayed?
She is currently praying now. She's doing several Hail Marys and sort of has cursed herself for not bringing her rosary with her. This lifestyle that she's taken up has sort of left her with some bad habits. She feels like a bad Catholic now, but she's in fact doing a Hail Mary.
And Fleur, you do notice that your niece, Elodie, seems to be a little confused because she seems to understand that something's happening, something's going on. She has enough power now to be able to read people's emotions and auras and whatnot, so she definitely sees that you and Odette are in some sort of emotional turmoil. But what is Fleur thinking and doing in this particular instance?
I think sort of instinctively, Fleur would have reached out to both Elodie and Odette, grasping Elodie by the hand, and then in the same way that Odette had regressed, Flora regressing to protecting Odette, wrapping an arm around Odette. And although she sort of takes this protective stance, that doesn't stop the panic from beginning to bubble up in her as she stares at Evelyn, almost afraid of taking her eyes off of the woman. And she wants to run. She wants to sink into her seat and disappear. She wants to be anywhere but here. And then there's this panic. Beneath that panic is this rage that is beginning to simmer. The rage that had been buried for years and years under the blood bond, resurfacing once more at the sight of Aveline, and even more so because Aveline is using her family name.
Do you feel that your character is at risk of losing control, or is it not that?
No, I think this is it's that quiet rage, that cold rage. It's not boiling hot.
Okay.
And I think having both Elodie and Odette next to her is sort of grounding her in that moment as well. I think if she didn't have the presence of the two most important people in her life next to her, there would definitely be a chance that she would do something she would end up regretting.
Elodie will certainly want to ask you questions, but before we get to Elodie, I would like to ask the other two in the room who are concerned by this particular situation to tell us sort of what's going on, what they're feeling. Mornian, how is Anton handling himself? He's probably the one who might be the most at risk of losing control, being a Brujah, but let's see how he's faring.
Great. At the sound of her voice, Anton he just stared straight ahead. He never looked to see the voice because he knew what he was going to see, and he knew what was going to happen when he saw it. At the sound of her name, he can't help but put his hand across his neck, remembering the collar he was forced to wear.
She did do quite a number on him, huh?
And when she finishes her speech, Anton would just stare a hole through her. More very, very, very ragey right now. Anton has taken care of everyone else who's ever put him in chains. He thought he was done with that part of his life. And now to see it come back, Anton is chewing on his bottom lip, and for the first time since he left that castle so many years ago, begins to dig his fingers into his hand and feels the warm blood trickle down. And almost like it's silent in the room, he can hear it as it hits the ground. Anton now sees the person that he quite possibly thought he was through with, but now hates the most in this entire world.
I'm going to go ahead and ask you to give me a self-control roll. Now, you can, if you want, expend a willpower or one of the advantages that you got to negate it, but it's fine. You can roll first and see if you manage without that. But you're going to roll a number of dice equal to your self-control. And I will say that this is the equivalent to a malicious taunt. So I'd say your difficulty is 4 right now.
Okay. Ooh, we're gonna go ahead and use an advantage. Don't ask questions.
Okay.
That
No
might
problem.
have was a lot of ones.
Thank you, chat, for keeping the people in this Elysium safe. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, if anybody looks at Anton, he doesn't know they exist. Right now, he is squarely and angrily focused on that stage.
And very similarly, as even though you're staring daggers into Aveline, she doesn't seem to really have noticed you. She seems to be. There are Primogen and important people that are talking to her, and she's just kind of staring at Fleur, mostly at Fleur and Odette, at least kind of that direction. And finally, from somewhere deep in the shadows, what is Agravain up to, thinking, feeling?
I think something that Agravain's feeling right now is something he does not feel very often, if ever, which is surprise. Her name, specifically her last name, seems to have taken him off guard. It's a name he knows well, a name from his past that even more than Aveline, he despises. And he's currently racking his brain to try and figure out that connection, why that name.
And so, as the four of you are all now focused on this situation, you see Aveline has, for the moment, been left alone. Elodie will reach up to you, Fleur, and go, I should ask you this. What have you told to Elodie about Aveline, if anything at all? Because, for the audience's sake here, Elodie is your actual niece. She was your brother's daughter. And at some point, after your embrace, or before, but probably after, at some time after your embrace, Aveline had her taken away from a family and brought to Hungary, where she was given to another vampire who kept her as a ghoul for years. And you suspect, obviously, that it was, well, I don't know what you suspect, but I would think that probably the first thing that came to mind was a possible replacement for you if needed, perhaps something of that nature.
On that, I would say definitely Flora would think possible replacement, but also leverage against Floor to be used.
So what have you told Elodie, if anything, about?
I don't think Floor would have told Elodie Aveline's name. I think she would have told her, been very honest and truthful in how she was embraced, been truthful in telling her how she was, how Floor found Elodie. But she would have never told Elodie the name. It's almost like, the boogeyman, like you don't speak the name out loud. So I think she would turn to Elodie very quietly. That is my sire.
Now, does Elodie know that it was your sire who had her taken?
Yes.
Okay. As a strange bit of reaction, perhaps not what you were expecting, there's a moment of surprise, obviously, where her eyes kind of grow wide, but almost immediately there's like a narrowing of the eyes. And you can sense that there's like a deadening of her emotions, like a coldness that is just right away just stumpf, kind of sealed down on top of her. And after a moment, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to just sort of rub my thumb over the top of her hand trying to be of comfort, letting her know that I'm here and I won't let anything happen to her.
She'll squeeze your hand and then she'll say, "Are you and Auntie Odette in trouble? In danger," she would say. "Are you and Auntie Odette in danger?"
I'm going to look down at Odette huddled at my side and then over at Aveline. And I've taken notice of the way that Aveline has sort of been like dead-eyeing me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is very likely that she will be seeking retribution for what we did to her.
But surely the people here, the laws will protect you. You told me when we met, when we were presented a few nights ago, that there were strict laws in the city that people had to observe, that people couldn't fight each other and couldn't kill each other. Certainly she has to follow those laws, doesn't she?
There is one thing I know about that woman. She does not care for laws as long as she can get what she wants.
And as you say that, almost as if she was waiting for you to finish speaking, she begins walking towards you very calmly, a very relaxed way. Her eyes have this anger, this hatred burning extremely deep within them. But the rest of her body, she looks like she could just be walking over to the bar to get a cup of something to drink. She doesn't really look at Elodie. She spares Odette a glance and kind of sneers a little bit, but then comes up to you.
I think there's almost this sort of instinctual reaction for Floor to sort of straighten up, as she was sort of wont to do whenever presenting herself to Aveline in the past. And she kind of straightens up and like holds her chin up, waiting for Aveline to speak.
She approaches you, looks down at Odette, then looks back down at you. "Well, you've certainly changed. Still pretty."
You haven't.
Well, it's very kind of you to say that, considering what I've been through. I find that quite the accomplishment. How are you?
I'm well. Traveling. Happened to come through the city at a convenient time, it seems.
Well, sometimes things are convenient and sometimes they're made convenient. I see you still travel with the same little lost puppy. She looks at Odette. "Hello, Odette. Still praying God and hearing nothing in return?"
There is something about Odette that sort of shifts that Eveline's tone. She knows that she's not this lost little puppy anymore. And she sort of glances up to her and says, "Yes, of course. Perhaps you could try it sometime. I'm sure your time in hell was wretched."
I would say enlightening. It certainly gave me time for reflection, gave me time to fully appreciate the betrayals of the past. And you can see that anger is mounting. Like there's a lot of anger. She's fighting really hard to kind of keep a handle on it.
I'm going to look at her. And how did you manage to crawl your way up?
You know, it is believed that the blood bond, at least at the time when we were bonded thusly, was an unbreakable thing that only the death of one's master could truly emancipate the other. And yet, somehow, you managed to free yourself of those fetters and accomplish what you did. Now, I now know that it was this new bloodline of the Tremere, she says with obvious distaste, who have powers that are not of our kind that allowed you to do this. And so, if such a thing is possible, why would you think that other things believed to be impossible might not also be within the realm of possibilities now? You see, I had a very long life before you came into mine, and, well, many friends, people who did not take kindly to what you did, and I'm not saying it was without effort. There was a lot of pain, a lot of grief, a lot of groveling, a lot of, well, let's just say the price was rather hefty. Will you be staying in town much longer? I have a few things to attend to in my capacity as Archon, but I would so very much like to catch up with you, and you too, Odette, if you want, and whatever that thing is that follows you around.
Laura's going to narrow her eyes. And she's going to remember where she is. I'll see if my schedule allows it.
I'm sure you'll find a way to make a little bit of time for me, if only for what we used to have. Remember who plucked you out of obscurity and gave you everything that you have, made you everything that you are. Even if all you turned out to be was a treacherous bitch.
I would say I learned that from you as well.
Well, certainly a case of the student becoming greater than the master.
That is going to do something. She's going to pull that petty card that she has learned in these aristocracy sort of circles, and she's going to lean forward to Eveline and give a good little sniff, and she's going to look Eveline dead in the eye and say, "You stink."
Coming from a peasant, that is exactly the kind of base, unrefined insult I would expect.
I might be a peasant, but at least I'm rich now.
Rich. Well, Odette, I hope those dollars and those gold coins and whatever else you've got stashed away have comfortably fill the hole that used to be filled with God's light and presence in your life now that that's gone.
Oh, Eveline, you foolish woman. I am nothing but full of God's light, as I always have been and always will remain to be.
There's no God here. None. There is
You're just,
only retribution.
you're just mad he's turned his back on a creature such as yourself.
You presume much, assuming that I ever had any faith or believe in such a thing as God. Look around you. If this is not proof enough that there is no such thing, then you are willfully blind, as are most people of no education and low intellectual capacity. But as I said,
I might be
origins
blind, but
don't lie.
I might be blind, but at least I can still smell. And she's gonna just sort of very aptly turn and her shoulders and face Fleur.
Let me ask you something, Fleur. Has Odette let you fuck her yet? Or is that just still something you pant after, like a dog, tongue out, hoping for a little taste of something, but, well, a little something is always just a little bit out of reach.
Fleur's going to smile because she knows Aveline's baiting her. You know, for someone who doesn't believe in God, you've spent an awful lot of time trying to what? Become one? Your transfixation on Christ and godliness.
I've given up on anything other than paying you back for what you did. And Odette, I don't like you, but I don't have any specific anger towards you. I know that certainly in all this you were very likely nothing more than a lackey. You do have an option. You can turn your back not just on me here, but on her, and I'll consider letting you be. The choice is
But
yours.
she's gonna sort of crane her neck over her shoulder to look at Aveline and sort of eye her up and down and say, Aveline, go fuck yourself.
Well, the very brightest minds of the French countryside shiver at the presence of such an intellectual giant. You should return to your cows. This is not a world for you. This is a world of sophistication. And as for you, she looks at Fleur. Don't think about leaving town. I have far more reach than you can imagine. If you leave town, I will make sure that both of these women, she looks at Odette and at Elodie, die before you do so that you can watch. But if you behave like you used to when you were good, then perhaps I'll take only your soul. With that, she turns around and walks away. As she does, Agravain, you hear in your head, it must be difficult to hide when you radiate so much insatiable curiosity.
He's gonna eye her from across the room.
Shall I come and talk to you, or would you rather we keep it between you and I?
I prefer my discretion.
I see you have my dog with you, but he's not wearing any chains. Has he been behaving?
He's a very good boy.
Agravain, my beautiful, beautiful boy. You're always my favorite, you know. Always so beautiful and gentle and kind. I've decided that I will not seek to punish you.
How lucky I am.
After
On
all,
what terms?
After all, you only did what I told you you should do. My terms are very, very simple and very generous. I will let you and the dog go. But you bring Fleur, and if you must, that pious whore Odette, to me tonight, before the end of the night, at the rotunda in the White City. You bring them there, and you leave them with me. And you'll never hear from me again. You'll never see me again. And if such a thing interests you, you can even take Fleur's little mini-me with you. I have no need of her. As you are thinking about this Agravain, you remember another time long ago, several centuries ago, at an ancient abbey that had been turned into a mansion owned by Aveline, where you and all these others lived. You remember hiding in the shadows, as always, by the crypt. As you look across the little gardened area at the front of the house, you can see clearly, basking in the moonlight, sitting on blankets, Odette and Fleur, cooing at each other, so very much wanting to touch and possess each other, but neither of them making any move. Odette fingering her crucifix, Fleur pretending that she's not, simply staring at Odette's mouth. What did you do that night when you saw this?
I had my sword with me. Sword that nobody knows about. Sword that I kept in my crypt, and only when I knew that I was going to be slinking around in the shadows did I bring it with me. Perhaps I would finally do it this evening and not just live out the fantasy in my mind of cutting them to pieces, making them ugly like me.
They are beautiful.
I'm watching them and I'm polishing the blade on my robes as I watch them, where there's a crest, very beautiful crest of a lion. But I can't do it. And in frustration, I tuck my sword back into my robe and I press into the castle.
Where do you go?
I wander for a little bit down the halls, the shadows of passages that people don't often move around in. And I suddenly find myself wandering towards Aveline's chambers.
As you turn into the corridor that leads to her chambers, you hear it again, the screams of pain, the screams of torture of this new child of hers, Geoffroy, that she's brought a few weeks, perhaps months ago now, who nightly she tortures and plays with and toys with you. Don't know what she does with him. There is literally one room in this entire manor that you've never been able to enter, and it's her dungeons. But you see, kneeling, iron collar around the neck, chained to the wall, very obedient, Anton, the guard dog, just outside the door to Aveline's chambers, where the screams are coming from. What do you
Those
think?
screams are like a sweet symphony to me. And I'm listening to them as I'm watching Anton for a moment. And he looks exactly the same as I remember him. And I find myself admiring the scar on his face, the scar that I gave him so many years ago. But I can't get caught up in this. Not right now. All I can think about in the back of my mind, picking at my skull, is how to rid myself of this pest, Aveline. Free myself from her. And I find myself reaching to touch my sword again.
You do know that if you go to that room, if you try to enter, Anton is going to try to stop you. The bond is strongest with him. The one whose spirit is the most broken is Anton, and even though he may not want to, you will likely have to kill him if you want to enter that room.
It's like my mind is saying yes, but every inch of my body is screaming no. And the more I think about it, the more I know I couldn't kill Anton either. Especially not with us slowly growing closer in the castle. And just when I think that I'm gonna finally do it, I'm gonna step out of the shadow. I sink deeper into them, then I turn again.
As you turn, you come face to face. One of several paintings that adorn the walls of the mansion. A painting done by Fleur. Some sort of self-portrait or a portrait of Aveline or a portrait of Odette. It gets very difficult to tell. After a while, the three women seem to easily kind of blend into one another, and this is definitely not one of her best pieces. She seems to be losing a little bit of her touch, but there it is. Moonlight striking right down on it. That face, Odette, Fleur, Aveline, doesn't matter which one. It's beautiful, perfectly symmetrical, inviting, and it just stares at you almost with disdain. Maybe it's just laughing.
I hate that face. That face in all of its beauty, and then my hand is just trembling at my side as I stare into it. I remember when I was beautiful. I'm not anymore. And with my trembling hand, I again reach for my blade, and as I do so, I just feel all that rage. Every ounce, every drop of these fantasies just bubble up inside of me. And as I draw out that sword, I run it up that painting slowly, carefully, like a surgeon, even though I'm trembling and I'm so angry. I hate it so much. But I'm dissecting it. I'm taking apart that beauty. I don't want it to be beautiful anymore. I want it to be ugly like me.
Voice in your head says, so what will it be, Agravain? Will you give me what we both want?
I'll see you in the White City.
My pretty boy. The connection is severed. You see her turn as other members of the Primogen, the Keeper of Elysium, come to her with questions. The 4-5 with Elodie of you are left standing. You, Anton, are not aware that she spoke to Agravain, but she clearly has no regard or concern for you at all. Completely just ignores you. The four of you are now there, standing, possibly staring at each other, perhaps not, but that age-old Game Master question. What would you like to do?
Odette is going to look to Fleur and sort of, and I've seen, maybe not Agravain, but I've seen Anton in the room with us. And she's going to glance to Anton and then back to Fleur and say, I suppose this might make for a very long night.
Laura's gonna give a sigh. I had hoped to go dancing.
In the middle of this fear that she feels, and perhaps panic as well, Fleur is going to sort of lean in close, or Odette's going to lean in close to Fleur, and almost brushing her face against yours, she'll say, perhaps if we survive this thing, I'll take you dancing with me.
Laura's going to smile sadly. There's this part of her that just knows she's not likely to see tomorrow. But she still will smile and nod at Odette. I quite like that.
What are Agravain and Anton doing now?
I imagine as soon as this conversation with Aveline ends, Agravain's going to step forward from the shadows and he's going to search for Anton. He's not going to move, but more so just looking around, hoping to catch his eye.
I think as he begins to walk away, Anton would find himself fixated. White hot, seething anger. Not only is she the cause of so much of his pain, but now she doesn't even acknowledge that he exists after walking over to the other two. I think he would find himself completely and totally overtaken by anger, and he would start almost shambling as he walks in her direction. With one thing on his mind, and that is to finish what he started. As he's walking towards her, just beyond his eye line, I would imagine he would see Agravain looking for him, knowing how he stalks the shadows as he does. And he would look directly into Agravain's eyes for any sort of, what should I do?
I think Agravain would realize what you're doing. He would definitely see the emotions running through your face. At this point, we've spent enough time together. We've gotten close enough with each other that we could definitely read each other's body language. And you would just see him give you a slow head shake. And then he would motion you close.
Anton's not going to walk past Aveline. He doesn't trust himself in this moment to be close enough to actually touch her. He would walk around, take a very wide berth around to go find where Agravain is currently posted up.
I believe I have garnered a certain amount of trust from you, my old friend.
The only thing stopping me from tearing her apart.
In due time, I think we should speak to the women. I've been given an opportunity. Something you might like, but I don't believe this is the place to discuss such things. But if you trust me, then you should follow my lead.
When you say the word trust, Anton's instinctively going to reach and kind of thumb the scar right under his eye. And as he does that, he's going to turn and kind of eye at Aveline again. And with that, move his hand down to his neck. And then just kind of look at you, almost emotionally exhausted over the past minute and a half of everything that's kind of went through his head, and just kind of nod his head yes.
Very
And now,
good.
but she dies before she leaves the city.
We'll see what we can do. But how about we start with a little snack first? And he's going to start heading towards Odette and Fleur.
Anton will be not walking behind. Right now, Anton feels like he doesn't want to be behind anyone. He will walk at your side.
Odette and Fleur, you see Anton, and you almost don't see Agravain at first. It's just a shadow. It looks like it's Anton's shadow that's kind of moving with him. But then you realize that makes no sense because the way the lights are on you, you can see the face sort of emerge out of that darkness, and almost as if he's being vomited forth by the shadows. Agravain appears, and him and Anton are at your doorstep.
Hello, gentlemen.
What a beautiful evening, ladies.
Odette's going to sort of cant her head to the side at the sight of both Anton and Agravain before her. And almost as if just to annoy Agravain, she'll say, I know you.
Sure you do, dear. Funny we should all see each other here again. After all these years.
Such a coincidence.
Is it? Or is it God's will?
Sure, it's someone's will.
Elodie is just staring at Agravain, like enraptured.
She would also recognize Agravain from the picture that I drew of him.
Okay.
Agravain kind of glances down to her and then back to Fleur. Seems as though we have a little problem.
Minor one. Depending.
Any ideas?
I'm gonna look from Agravain to Anton and then back to Agravain. Well, I'm quite new to the city, so I'm not quite sure what resources you have at your disposal, but my hands are quite tied here. Especially given my clan's status with the Archon.
What if I told you I knew where Aveline would be this evening? And that I know she'll be alone.
And then what, Agravain? We do it again.
What choice do we have? I assume she'll be coming for all of us. She does seem like the type to hold a grudge. I'm sure she had a lovely little discussion with you, Fleur. I saw the two of you speaking.
Oh, she's already threatened me. I have no doubt about it that she'll try to decapitate me or something.
Well then. More of a reason for us to band together than ever. Like the old times. Shall we give her one last go?
Odette's going to look to Fleur and sort of give a glance, almost as if she's questioning everything that has gone on before her. And she's seeking refuge.
Elodie will.
Or
Sorry. Elodie will just. Still staring at Agravain. Will say, why do you hide your face?
Hmm. Does she always speak to her elders like this? He's speaking to Fleur.
Fleur's going to sort of side glance Elodie. She normally has better manners than this. I apologize.
Close your mouth, child. You look like a codfish.
You see that she's about to retort something, but then kind of looks up at Fleur and then just gives you a little. She reaches out and takes Odette's hand also and is holding both your hands.
She seems to resemble you quite distinctly. I remember that, Fleur.
Fondly, I hope.
The fondest.
Yes, well, we are family, so the resemblance would make sense.
Then stakes are higher than ever for you, my dear Fleur.
I suppose they are. Fleur's gonna look to Anton. How does he look?
Anton looks like a mixture of the angriest beaten dog you've ever seen. Anton looks like 15 seconds ago, looking at him would have blinded you with how angry he was. But at the prospect of being asked if he trusts someone, he calmed down a little bit. But you know how sometimes when you calm down, it just immediately hits you? That, I'm not going to say fear, but that prickly sensation in the back of your mind that you don't know what's going on and you don't like it.
Well, I suppose we should go to the White City then.
I suppose so.
As you prepare yourselves, turn around, ready to leave, you feel again that intrusion, Agravain, in your head. And you hear that voice one more time. Aveline says, oh, and did I forget to mention, I'm sure you've seen what I can do with flesh and bone. Did I mention that if you do a good job for me tonight, I might be inclined to make you as beautiful as you used to be? Now wouldn't that be just swell?
She's not met with a verbal response, but since she's tapping into his mind, I imagine she would feel this just crushing wave of longing intermingled with a deep sadness.
And so, my friends, as you all prepare to move towards the White City, which is regularly abandoned now, it will be a very quiet spot. We will take a break. This seems like a pretty good point to take a bit of a break. And when we return, we will find out exactly what is to happen in the White City. Thank you very much, everyone. Fantastic roleplay. It was an awesome here watching you bring it, all of you. It was wonderful. Everybody okay? Everyone good? All right. Thanks, people, watching, hanging out with us. We greatly appreciate you, ATCAT. Thanks for being here and for lurking around. We appreciate everyone. We will take a short break, a few minutes, and refresh ourselves and allow Creep to drink, because Creep's probably staring at her bottle right now and hoping she could just transmogrify the water all the way inside her soul. And we will return very shortly. Please don't go away. Hang out, and we will be back soon. Ciao. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. We are returning now with our friends here who are just about to head to the White City. So just a very brief recap. You met Aveline just before the break. She made a deal with Agravain to lure Odette and Fleur to the White City before dark, which Agravain very, happily proceeded to do. We don't know yet exactly what Agravain's going to do, but he definitely made a suggestion that you all meet there, as it's kind of a very quiet, rundown place, and he has suggested that he knows that Aveline will be there later tonight, and he's an Nosferatu. He knows shit. Guy gets around. Guy's in people's walls. He's in your walls, right? Creep is in your walls right now. Creeping with a handful of hot dogs. Creeping.
That's so on brand for me.
Yeah, I could just imagine it. If I were to find Creep hidden in my wall screen, it'd just be sitting there with the hot dog. If it was bones, it'd be a pickle, but since it's Creep, it's hot dogs. No, we saw it the other day. It's her toe that's made of hot dog. Remember that toe? On that note, I'm going to take a second here so I can easily edit this out when I post this up online. Hey, welcome back. We are heading now to the White City. As you approach the White City, Creep and Anton, cast your mind back. The year is 1893. As one enters the White City Rotunda in Chicago, the central feature of the World's Columbian Exposition, they are immediately enveloped in a breathtaking world of elegance and innovation, a celebration of human achievement and progress. The visitor steps into a vast luminous space filled with a sense of grandeur and wonder. Above, a colossal dome stretches overhead, adorned with intricate patterns and ornate chandeliers that cast soft, warm glow. The architecture is neoclassical in style, exuding a sense of timelessness and reverence for ancient civilizations. The rotunda's walls are adorned with intricate frescoes and murals that depict scenes from history, myth, and art. Skilled artisans have brought these images to life with vivid colors and meticulous attention to detail. Each painting tells a story, capturing the imagination of those who pass by. In the center of the rotunda, there's a magnificent fountain, its waters dancing to the melodies played by the live orchestra hidden in the shadows. The sound of flowing water and classical music fills the air, creating an enchanting atmosphere. that transports visitors to another world. The floor is a mosaic masterpiece, featuring intricate patterns and designs that echo the grandeur of the space. As visitors stroll across it, they can't help but feel like they're walking through a palace of dreams. Around the edges of the rotunda, there are exhibits showcasing the latest innovations of the time. Visitors can marvel at the wonders of electricity, gaze at the intricate machinery of the Industrial Revolution, and explore displays of art and culture from around the globe. The White City Rotunda is a testament to the optimism and creativity of the era. It is a place where the past and the future converge, where beauty and innovation come together in a dazzling display of human achievement. It underlines the hope that guides humanity through darkness. Except tonight, it's dark. There is little of its original beauty left. The patina on the walls is damaged by time and the elements. The frescoes have, in many places, been vandalized and now stand there incomplete, broken. The fountain is no more, covered in a massive tarp that hides its former glory. There is no music, no laughter, no light. If this place once heralded a glorious, hopeful future, that future is now fallen into rotting misery. Anton, Agravain, you step into the center of the rotunda, leaving the shadows behind. You are alone for the moment. The time is pretty late, only a few hours before dawn. Time enough to do what needs doing. But what do you do?
I assume you have a plan.
I do. We are going to trade Fleur and Odette for our freedom.
At the sound of the word trade, Anton looks you dead in the eyes. He's not angry. He's a little confused. I don't... Trade. How do you know she wants them?
She spoke to me while we were in the Elysium.
And how do we know? There's no way she trusts us. And I don't trust her.
It's not her, Anton. It's something walking around pretending to be her. But it's not her. She's gone. We killed her a long time ago.
But Anton says the words "if I" and then stops for a moment. Kind of straightens his back a bit. Becomes more of the imposing figure you're used to him being. He looks straight in the eye. I trust you. If you say it isn't her, let him have the bitches. Let's be free of this all.
She's going to give us the girl. Isn't that kind? I say we take her. A memento for all of our hard work.
I'm sure she'll be useful in getting you all the information you need.
I'd love to add her to my collection.
Upon that, Anton softens a bit. And let's do what we need to do and be free of this.
Yes. Besides, you and I, we have more pressing matters in the city than to be playing with these little fools.
Yes, I think tomorrow's going to be a interesting day.
I believe you are right.
And Anton will smirk for the first time in a while this day. Well then, do we know when they're arriving?
Hopefully soon. Glad to see you feel much better now.
I have no care for those two, never have. And if it's not truly the one who kept me in chains, I don't care what he wants to do with them.
Outside, approaching the dark, empty white city. Fleur, Odette, and Elodie. You walk through darkened, abandoned streets. Most of the lights here have been vandalized at one point or another, and you're mostly lit by the glow of the moon, which is rapidly going down. You probably only have a few hours left before sunup. The ground below your feet was once a marvel. It's now cracked, broken. There's grass growing between the stones. It's no longer a road that leads to enlightenment and glory and beauty and light. It's a road that just leads deeper into darkness. You arrive near the main plaza. There is an empty pool there that is cracked and sort of overgrown with vines and filled with detritus that the people who come here, like you in the shadows, leave behind. You are perhaps stopped taking a minute to take in what's about to happen or what you're hoping to see happen. Elodie pulls on your hand, Fleur, um, and says, how, how can you trust that man? He hides his face. You can't trust someone who spends his life hiding his face.
I don't. But and I will look her in the eye. I am either going to die tonight or I am not.
What? You're not going to die?
I'm going to look at her a bit sadly.
As you
Whoever
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
whoever Aveline wants to hurt, she will hurt. And she wants to hurt me.
So let's just not go.
It's not that simple. She will hunt us no matter where we go.
Maybe she's not as maybe she's not as evil as you think. Maybe she really just needs an apology, maybe? Odette, you don't think that she would really, well, kill us all, I guess. Do you?
Dear Elodie, sweet girl. I wish I could say something from the Bible that brings us hope and comfort. But unfortunately, Fleur is right. We either die tonight or we don't. We finish this at last.
Floor's going to look at Elodie. And instead of the young woman standing in front of her, she sees the little girl who used to sneak into her rooms with chubby cheeks and wild hair, and who would beg Floor to show her her latest painting. Was always so fascinated by Fleur's paintings. The little girl who would grab Fleur's hand as they walk through the garden, skipping and giggling, naming all the different flowers they pass by. And there's this hollow feeling in her chest as she thinks about her decision to embrace Elodie and how she did so out of desperation and without Elodie's consent. And she's carried this guilt with her for centuries, never broaching the subject with Elodie in fear that that gnawing voice in the back of her head was right, that she is nothing but a monster just like Aveline. And she's going to say, there's something I must ask you while I have the chance.
Sure, Mum. What is it? I will just interrupt here for a moment to say, Fleur, that in that instant when you see her looking up at you and being so vulnerable for the first time, she's always kind of put on little airs about kind of being tough and all that. And I mean, she's been around now for a while. But in that moment when she looks up at you and seems to start realizing kind of what's going on, you kind of remember the last time really you saw her being so afraid and being so weak and vulnerable. You remember walking into the room in that castle in Hungary. You could almost see yourself reflected in her eyes, what she saw as you came into the room, finding her a ghoul at that point, chained to a wall, having been twisted, changed, transformed by the horrible Zimshi jailkeeper that she had, who kept her alive by feeding her his blood, but then used her for his flesh and bone experiments. And you remember finding her and just seeing how scared she was. But you also remember when she looked up and saw you come into that room, saw you bleeding from a whole bunch of different wounds, claw marks, sword wounds. She saw the weapon in your hand. She saw the blood that was on you. She saw the carnage you had just created, reaching her through this castle held by this Zimshi and his minions, all of whom you managed to destroy and cut down. You yourself being almost within an inch of dying at that point, so many wounds you'd taken, and seeing her and seeing that strength that she took in that moment by seeing yours, seeing what you'd done to reach her. And you can kind of tell that she's in need of that strength right now as she looks at you. There's that scared little girl again, and she needs Auntie Fleur to be that sword wielding knight in shining armor or bloodied armor that she saw centuries ago in that castle in Hungary.
I'm going to kind of reach out my hand and in the same way that I had flesh crafted her own face back in to a form that was recognizable to me all those years ago. And caress it. Melody, do you hate me?
No, of course not. What a silly question. How could I ever hate you? You're my mummy.
I never gave you a choice back then. I never considered to not embrace you back then. And I realize I've brought you into this awful, awful world. And I never once asked you if this is what you wanted.
Mummy. You didn't give me a choice back then because there was no choice. I wouldn't. I don't even know how I did manage to survive in there. And everything you've done for me since then has been done to make me better and make me stronger and make me whole again. I could never hold it against you to have done that. It was more than anybody ever did for me before. I know it's a bit of a joke when I call you Mummy because, well, you're my auntie. I know that. I'm not stupid. But the only amount of love I've ever gotten that was comparable to the love that only a mother can give, I got from you. You're not going in there alone to die. It's my choice.
Flor's going to, almost like a sag of relief as her shoulders kind of drop. And she's going to kind of smile a little bit tearfully. I think you have a little bit too much of me in you.
Well, you know what they say about mothers and daughters. And she reaches and takes Odette's hand. We'll just keep calling you Auntie, though, okay?
Yes, that is quite good.
Shall we go?
One, if you don't mind, just one last thing before we go.
What is it?
She's going to hold her hands out to Fleur. The stigmatas that are always there. Just in case. I would like to be whole.
Fleur's going to grasp Odette's hands and in like a waving motion, she will mold the flesh on your palms closed.
As she does this, very quickly, Odette is going to kiss Fleur. Not in the way that she had back in Eveline's castle. Not in a way that women who are probably too close to friends ought to kiss. It is feverish, and that of a lover.
Before Odette could pull away, Fleur will kind of grab her by the back of the neck and deepen the kiss for a moment longer. And when she pulls away, she will look at Odette, hands still in her own hands. I have loved you so deeply and wholly all of these years. Thank you.
Fleur, I knew I loved you the moment I saw you. So long ago. No more time to waste.
Come.
As you walk off, heading towards the rotunda, after a moment, Elodie will say, "Well, hundreds of years. You guys really held all that in for hundreds of years."
Yes. Well, yes.
Yes.
I hope I don't have to wait that long.
I hope you do. It makes it all the better.
I don't know. You eventually arrive in the rotunda and you find Agravain and Anton waiting there. The moon has moved even further down. It's at a sort of a strange angle that elongates all the shadows right now. So everybody seems to be casting these really long, thin shadows that look almost like crooked blades across the mosaiced floor of this rotunda. You find yourselves staring at each other. 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Basically, forever since the last time the four of you had gathered to kill Aveline. What do you do?
As they are walking in, you will see Odette place something over the back of her neck and kind of dangled down her shoulders. It is the devotional scapular. And she will make the sign of the cross.
So glad you could join us, ladies.
Always a pleasure, Agravain.
You don't have to lie to me, Fleur.
Not lying.
He's right. It isn't very good to see you again, Agravain, to be honest. I find you quite haunting and awful.
It's almost
And you-
comforting seeing you two again. Almost comforting as it is troubling, given the circumstances.
History does seem to repeat itself.
Hopefully this is the last time.
Let's hope.
The last time for what exactly, Anton? You hear as Aveline walks into the rotunda, hands clasped behind her back, strolling in as if strolling into a cocktail party.
Last time I ever have to see your face.
Why, what's wrong with my face? You've been staring at Agravain's for so long, and I'm certain his is not quite up to these standards. Although, who knows? Perhaps they might again be.
Anton's gonna begin digging his fingers into his palm again. And touching the side of his neck. The words are ready. He's trying to remain calm, but he's having trouble.
It's kind of nice, the family being together again like this. The wayward daughters, the rebellious sons. Well, one perhaps more rebellious than the other. Tell me, have you gathered to kill me again? Drink my blood? Drain my soul? Feast on me? Grow more powerful because of it? It didn't work the first time. It won't work the second time.
Do you want Aveline?
What do I want? Well, your head on a spike to begin with would be, well, satisfying to some degree. But perhaps before you and I can have a little family discussion, child. Thank you, Agravain. You've done what I asked you, and your dog may depart now. I have no longer need of you.
Going to look to Agravain and Anton.
I believe I was promised someone.
Indeed, you were. I will deliver this someone along with the rest of your payment as soon as I'm done here.
Well, have a wonderful evening, ladies. Agravain's gonna turn and begin to walk away.
The men outside know to let you through. When you step by, do tell them that we're ready.
Very well.
Oh, before you go, Anton, would you be a good boy and do me a favor? Would you pull that tarp off the fountain, please?
Anton's gonna eye the fountain and then look to Agravain and then begin walking towards the fountain. Slowly pull the tarp off.
As the tarp slides off, you realize it's not a fountain that's underneath it, but rather a wooden pyre that has been built, much as the Inquisition used to use back in the day during the Acts of Auto da Fe, where those who had sinned were called upon to cleanse themselves, improve their purity by standing in the flames. There are logs of wood, and you smell the petrol that's covering them, stacked all the way around and beneath it. Thank you. You may go now.
Anton's gonna lightly huff as he falls in beside Agravain and follows.
As
Traded one master in for another.
Seems that way, isn't it?
He doesn't look back.
Flora has an advantage from Razzmatazz. May come in handy in a minute. You walk outside and you find the place surrounded. There are a number of cars there, and you see a great number, perhaps as many as 20 or 30 men dressed in nice suits, fedoras, long coats, clutching Thompson machine guns, encircling the rotunda. Agravain also from Razzmatazz. An advantage. As you approach, one of the men takes a toothpick out of his mouth and flicks it. Everything all right in here?
Seems as though your master is ready for you.
All right then. Have yourselves a good night.
Agravain's gonna keep walking.
Anton's following.
You certainly, Anton, recognize that these are Italian soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Inside the rotunda. Hey, everybody's got advantages. From Razzmatazz. Thank you so much, Razzmatazz. Thank you. Aveline walks up to you, Fleur. And she says, you now have a choice before you. You can either climb up there and take the punishment that's coming to you for everything that you did, or you will all burn. It's in your hands, Fleur. Now I know these are cold, callous hands to leave the fate of others in. Believe me, I know better than most. What a callous heart you have. How easily you can abandon one to be tortured, degraded, hurt night after night after night, while you do nothing to stop it. One, for all intents and purposes, is your brother by blood. Never once, in all those nights of me screaming, of me wanting to die, not once did you say anything to Aveline. Did you try to stop her? You watched me be brought into this infernal castle of yours. You spent your nights looking at this one, pining for this one who would not, in any way, shape, or form, return any of your interest. Her eyes turns towards a sky from where no answers ever came, for where no love ever came, for where no light ever came. But yet, you followed her around. You cared for her. And you let me rot in Aveline's dungeons night after night. He comes up to you. Do you know who I am now?
Geoffroy.
Geoffroy. It was a very long road. You didn't even take me with you after you killed her. You killed her. You took her soul. And you left me to burn in that house while those peasants ransacked and rampaged throughout the entire place. I almost died. I crawled into a sewer to avoid the sunlight that morning. Years it took me. years to even be able to care for myself. Never once.
How are we to have known?
Oh,
Jaffa?
you
How
didn't
are
know?
we to have...
You didn't know. The screaming at night, constantly?
Not the screaming, Jaffa. How are we to have known that you were still there in the castle? We found Aveline alone.
So you just assume that I, her most precious pet, would just have evaporated. You did not even come look for me. You knew I was in there. You knew what she had done to
Villagers were
me.
everywhere. What
Yeah.
did you expect us to do?
Well, certainly no more
Your
than you did.
hatred is misplaced.
I don't believe so.
We were as much victims of Aveline as you were.
Oh,
Granted,
victims.
our punishments were different.
Victims. Allowed to roam free, allowed to do whatever you want, allowed to
Roam free.
pine for this godless whore next to you.
We were prisoners in the Abbey.
Oh, prisoners in a gilded cage. Oh, I can definitely tell.
Oh,
that
is this
you're...
jealousy then? Is that what this is?
Yes, yes, Fleur. Your pain certainly equaled mine. Oh, perhaps
I'm sorry, I
it
didn't realize
impacted
was a
your painting.
competition.
It impacted your painting. Perhaps you couldn't paint anymore. Poor little girl couldn't paint.
And are you satisfied with yourself, becoming the monster she wanted you to become?
I was a monster by her hand long before what you did. And it was because you would not step up to her and stop her when you could. Now, your choice is simple. Either you burn to expiate your sins, or we all do. And as Geoffroy Aveline says that, you start smelling smoke. You can see from the various doorways leading into the rotunda flames starting to lick up the walls. You can immediately tell that the building you're in has been set on fire and is burning. Meanwhile, somewhere across town, Anton and Agravain walking, keeping to the shadows. Where are you going?
We are currently on our way to my hideout, the H.H. Holmes Hotel, where Agravain is very adamant that we should go not only check on our goods, but Anton, I think I'd like to show you something.
Anton somewhat perks up at this. Show me something. All right. Before we do, can I ask one question?
You can ask anything of me.
That wasn't Aveline. Who was it?
I don't know. All I know is that it wasn't her. But I can tell you that while it wasn't the real Aveline, their hatred for Fleur was just as palpable as if it were her.
Awkwardly, Anton almost smirks at this. Mm.
I do hope that they keep their word and deliver the girl. I do wish to add her to my collection of pretties.
As Agravain says this, Anton, you're quite struck by what Agravain has become. You remember a night so very long ago, 1,200 years ago. You remember being on a ship bound for Europe. You remember being chained along with several others. Now, by this point, almost half your numbers had died. Most had been thrown overboard, but there were still one or two that were not 100% dead enough yet to throw overboard. You yourself were chained to one of them for several days before someone finally came around and tossed him overboard. You remember that the only thing you could feel anymore was the sun on your face during the day and the salt of the sea spray. But you remember one night, very specifically. You remember one night where you'd watched Agravain and one of his brother knights, both so beautiful, so, well, let's say angelic looking, just beautiful men, go into one of the little cabins near where you were being kept. And while you don't know exactly what went on or didn't go on in there, you heard enough to know that there was at least some attempt at, well, behavior that certainly their restrictive God would frown upon. But as you would have been willing perhaps to bet, the door opens and you see him come out. Agravain, the knight who chained you, the one who struck you in the face, the scar, the wound that he gave you is scarring badly because it became infected at some point during the voyage. He comes out and he is half dressed, perhaps. You know it didn't go very far because they weren't there very long, and he's got this look of utter shame on his face. You don't understand French. So when they speak to each other, him and the other knight, you don't know exactly what is said, but you do know that there is some anger and a certain sense of disappointment coming from the other one in the room, but there's no mistaking the utter shame that is filling Agravain's eyes, especially when he looks around to see if anyone is watching. And there you are, kneeling in chains, not 10 feet away from him, staring at him straight in the face.
I'd be the one in chains. It seems like you're the one really enslaved here. Your God won't even let you have a little fun.
You almost expect him to hit you again, but the shame's too great. He turns away after one last look at you and skulks away into the shadows, trying to disappear in them, trying to just move out of the light and forever be absorbed so that he can hide his shame. This memory comes back to you as you see how depraved and willing he has become.
Anton's gonna just kind of look at Agravain for a moment. And then bring his hand up right under Agravain's left eye, the same eye he has his scar on, and just kind of run his thumb across it. I've had a lot of people tell me what to do. There was only ever one who actually made me stronger. Your words, your cunning. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be standing here. You took a pompous sellsword and showed him what it was really like to be owned. You grew the seed of chaos inside of me, and it's consumed me now. I never thought I'd find myself falling for the person who put me in this life. But here we stand. And he just kind of looks expectantly.
I was blinded by your potential in our human life. I was too busy struggling with my own demons. Silly, frivolous things. Who I was, and the only way I could fix it was to turn to God. And then when I lost everything, I became nothing even further. But in that castle, I saw in you potential. A new potential. And now, as we work so closely together, I realize that the beauty that I have sought for so long is not in my face or my hair or the beautiful things, the arts, the music. And his eyes are kind of drifting away in this moment. For centuries, before we found ourselves here in Chicago, I searched for that beauty far and wide and deep. And as we're still moving along, we've reached his house, and he's pushing open doors. And you reach a room at last that he opens. And inside that room, you see piles and piles of artwork, of artifacts, of things that were deemed beautiful by man. Things that some of them you may recognize, some of them stolen, some disappeared centuries ago. All these things I've amassed in my obsession. And he's going to turn back to you, and slowly as he's speaking, he's pulling away his mask. And as he pulls away his mask, you don't see the monster, but you see the Agravain that you remember when we were humans. Beautiful and blonde, with sun-kissed skin and chiseled features. It doesn't mean anything. None of it. And he's slowly stepping into you, closer. What I found is the real beauty, the bond. What you've given me in these past 30 years is unexplainable. It's beautiful to be so close to another being, someone to understand me the way that you understand me. It's what I've been searching for centuries.
Anton will close any remaining distance and place his forehead directly on yours. That's what we were both looking for. I just never knew it.
We're free, Anton.
Free to sow the chaos we desire.
Yes. And as he smirks, the visage begins to slowly melt away, and he's leaning in, perhaps to kiss you.
Anton will lean in as well.
And as you do, you smell the fire. You smell the fire that is rising somewhere near you. You scan the room. Anton, you notice something that catches your eye. Or in one corner, a series of auto portraits that you recognize as having been done by Fleur. A great number of them, all stacked together and tied together and bound together. All of them defaced. And as you look at this, you see coming from between the cracks on the floor flames that are starting to rise up and eat at these paintings. And there's only one thought that crosses your mind at this moment. Downstairs are barrels and barrels and barrels of whiskey.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, back at the rotunda,
Like to try something?
Yeah. The flames are rising. You can definitely see the house has really started to catch. Elodie's kind of starting to panic. You know that the Rostrek, the fear of fire that is innate in all vampires, is starting to get a hold of her, and she's probably going to lose her shit. Go ahead. Tell me what you want to do, but I'll probably ask for Rostrek checks in a moment.
I would like to look at Jaffa. Don't you remember me coming down to the dungeons and tending to your wounds and trying to free you? And I'm going to try to use Forgetful Mind on him.
Okay. Let us do that. So you will roll for Forgetful Mind. Your wits plus subterfuge. Your target is his willpower.
If I wanted to expend a willpower to auto succeed, would I be able to do that?
What it will give you is an automatic success,
Okay.
but the effect of the forgetful mind is dependent on how many successes you have. So
Okay.
while you can spend some to get auto success, they'll count, but you still need to generate a certain number of them for it to sort of take effect for a longer time or to be effective. I will say that your targets are 7s.
Targets are 7. Okay. So I got 4 7s. And then can I expend more willpower in order to bump that up?
Yeah, you can totally if you want. Go ahead. Well, you can spend a maximum based on your. You can spend a maximum number of willpower based on your generation. You have 6 willpower total.
Yeah, and we're 6th generation.
Yeah.
So
I'm not.
Can I spend?
I'm just looking at it. I'm just gonna look quickly, but if I don't find it quickly, we're just gonna make a call. I can't find it, but I'm gonna say you can go ahead and you can spend like 3 of them plus whatever advantages you want.
Okay. And what do the advantages do? Is that like rerolls?
The advantages are basically the equivalent of a willpower point. So you spend them and you get an automatic success out of them.
I have a lot of advantages.
Yeah. You can fucking go to town on this guy if you want.
I'm gonna spend as much as I need to in order to make it like an automatic, like fully like tangible memory for him.
Okay, well tell me how many willpower points you're willing to spend.
So I will
I
spend,
don't suggest spending all of it. I don't suggest spending all the
okay.
willpower unless you really want to kind of commit to this bit.
But
so you're about to have to make raw strict rolls, so.
So I rolled 4 successes. Okay. I will spend 3 willpower to bump that up to 7, and then however much more I need to.
Okay, well, so look, I'll tell you this. So, I'll tell you this: spend 2 willpower and 2 advantages.
Okay.
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 And you can see it now. Tell me exactly what it is you're trying to do to him.
So I'm trying to convince him that. I'm trying to implant the memories of me going into the dungeon, tending to his wounds, trying to heal him after Evelyn's torture, trying to speak to Evelyn to let him come up and be with the rest of the family, and maybe him hearing like her beating me for having suggested that. So it makes it seem like I had made an effort to try to allow him to become part of the family with the rest of us and to not endure the suffering.
Okay, so that's pretty elaborate. So you're working on that. You're telling him stories. You're telling him, do you remember story? And you can see that he's kind of shaking his head and kind of, feeling a little bit of confusion. Like what you're trying to do is a little bit beyond what the power can do, but I'll say that it's kind of working on him, and he's feeling like, since you spent all those points, all that, you can tell that it's having some sort of effect. Now, you don't think you're going to be able to kind of permanently implant these things or kind of really make them stick, but you're giving him enough to kind of feel confused a little bit. But so this is taking a little bit of time as you're talking and doing this. What is Odette doing in that meantime?
Odette was going to use the haunting on him. Can I do that in conjunction to her doing this to sort of confuse him?
Yeah, absolutely. So what the haunting does, stirs sensory sense, flooding the victim's sense with vision, scenes. What is it that you want him to see? You have to tell me what you want. Like, what are these images you're creating?
They're not pleasant images, is what I understand that he's supposed to see. So
yeah, he's basically going to see like Aveline, and he's going to see things like that, like kind of.
So, can I tell what I really want him to see?
Yeah.
I really would like for him to see the Madonna in horrific, gory positions, bleeding eyes, mid-childbirth, but not birthing Jesus Christ, birthing some amalgamation of flesh and hate.
So Agravain.
Yeah. I want him to see the Madonna giving birth to Agravain.
That's enough to give anyone nightmares. You start messing with him, so go ahead and make your
Okay.
roll. So you're going to make a manipulation plus subterfuge.
But I would like to use 2 of my advantages, if at all possible.
Absolutely.
How many D10 am I rolling?
You're rolling a number of D10 equal to your perception and your manipulation plus subterfuge.
My manipulation is 5, and then my subterfuge is 3, so I'm rolling 3 D10.
No, 5 plus 3 is 8.
5. Okay. Yep. Yep.
8 bones. Roll 8 bones.
Yep. I'm gonna try and do that.
Your targets are 7s.
Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 successes, and
Plus
then if I use plus 2 advantage, so that many successes.
Okay, you have to spend the blood also to activate this power.
That's fine.
So you start doing it, and you can tell that he's like, it's having a weird effect because Fleur is trying to give him these wonderful, warm kind of memories of being together and all that, and then all of a sudden you come in with like these monstrous things and all that, and he's really confusing. It's really kind of making him, kind of go. He kind of backs away, and he's like, "No, you're. I remember it wasn't. Dear God, what is that thing?" And he's really kind of panicking. Now the fire is starting to really kind of rise, and it's really licking up those walls, and you can feel it. So I'm going to ask the two of you to make Rosh check rolls to see if you manage to keep your, because fire is basically, aside from the sun, the deepest fear that vampires have. So to make a Rosh check roll, you need to roll your self-control. No control. So you need to roll a number of dice equal to your self-control and your courage. Am I right?
Lots of dice.
Or do the same thing.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, your self-control
plus courage.
Plus your courage. I think it's just courage actually, but let's go with self-control and courage.
Okay, thank God.
What are we looking for on the die?
Yeah.
All right. So you are looking for, the difficulty of your fire, because it is big and it's kind of surrounding you and it's all there. Your target is going to be 9s actually.
Okay.
Now again, this is something you can spend a willpower on. If you spend a willpower, you buy yourself some time.
I would like to spend a willpower.
Okay.
I got 4 successes.
All right, so you're cool like a cucumber. You're seeing these flames, but you're so focused on other things that they're not really kind of fearing you. However, and you're spending a willpower, Odette?
Yeah.
All right, you spend the will, but you realize, you kind of take a quick look at Odette, and you can see the eyes are big and red, the fangs are out, and you can see she's like a moment away from like losing her shit and just rampaging, and she sees you and then kind of manages to take control of herself.
I'm going to reach out to Jafwa, kind of urging him. Come, let me help you now, please. Let us all get out of here.
No, I can't. You're lying to me. I know you are. Why is she here? And he's pointing at nothing, right? And he's pointing at like an empty space. Like, why is she here? What is this? The light, it's blinding. I'm going to give him a self-control roll. Because now he's being assaulted sort of on all parts. He's got the fire there too. He's got everything. So we'll give him...
I want to know, Odette is menacingly staring at him through the eyebrows.
Yeah, and so as you reach out to him, Fleur, and you're staring at him through the eyebrows, you see suddenly his face just turns into this mask of bestial rage. Hey, thank you, Miko, and sorry, Kevin and Miko, I guess. Hey, Turner, thanks for the raid. We appreciate you. You're just coming in at the moment de vérité. What's up, Beth? Beth Masco, what up? Down to clown. That's what we are. We're down to clown here. You see Fleur as Alyssa. He turns and then he's just this mask of rage, and his fangs are out, and his bones have starting to grow. His hands are glowing into claws, and he's gonna jump you. He comes right at you. So let's everyone here roll initiative for me. Just roll a d10. Meanwhile, back at the OK Corral, on the other hand, you're in this room. You're seeing the flames start to lick up the side. They're coming through the cracks in the floor. You're standing on literally, dozens and dozens of casks of whiskey down there, and it's clear that that's where the fire is. So I'd like to ask the two of you, what would you like to do? The fire's coming for you. You literally, there's not a lot of time. That whiskey's going to go. And when it goes, it's going to be pretty ugly all over the place. So I would like to know, what do you do?
Seeing fire, understanding what's below him, Anton would try to grab Agravain and just go as quickly as he could. He's fire's already terrifying for him, and knowing what's below that fire isn't helping the situation at all. So he's going to be very wide-eyed, very, very determined, and very ready to get moving as quickly as he can. I believe Anton would see the fire turn, see Agravain, and then try to grab Agravain.
Okay, you're definitely going to have to give me a Ross check roll in a second, but I want to see what Agravain wants to do also first.
Mm-hmm.
When you look to Agravain, it's as though the fire doesn't exist around him. He's completely calm and serene, and his eyes never left you this whole time. He's still watching you. And when you try to grab him, he just shakes his head, much in the way that he shook his head at you when he knew you were going for Aveline earlier. Don't be afraid, Anton.
Upon seeing Agravain as stoic as ever, Anton just kind of gets lost in his eyes and remembers all the nights they spent together, getting rid of Aveline's experiment by the fire. Was always a trying time for Anton to be that close to fire, and Agravain never seemed to mind. A small, happy memory of that horrible situation. And he just, almost in reverence, just kind of stops and stares at you.
You know what we're standing on. There's no escape. This is our fate. Let us be glad for the discoveries we've made before it's the end. And Agravain is going to take Anton's face in his hands, and for one last time he's gonna run his thumb over the scar above his eye. I'm sorry for what I was, but know that you've had everything I am now. And he's going to pull him in and kiss him.
Anton will return the smooches.
And as your lips meet and you kiss, kiss even longer in the making than that of Odette and Fleur's. A kiss that began so long ago at the reconquering of Jerusalem. The casks of whiskey hidden in the room beneath your feet finally split open. The fire catches in the alcohol, and in moments, the entire building that you're in, the hotel where so many murders took place, so many lives were extinguished. All these little flames of life snuffed out. There is suddenly this storm of fire, and it reaches through the floor where you are. It burns all this art, all these things of beauty that over the centuries Agravain has amassed. They all disappear in a moment, turn to ash, burned, completely destroyed, as if directly out of one of Agravain's dreams. The two of you, as you kiss, the flesh on your face melts and starts to meld with each other. Your bones, your teeth meld with each other as the intense heat of the fire unites you. Finally. Back at the rotunda. What did you get?
7.
9.
All right.
Mhm.
So, Aveline, Geoffroy, claws extended, jumps over towards Fleur. Fleur, you see Elodie tries to kind of get in between you and Geoffroy, but he just bats her away, and there's no way she can resist. You can see her kind of ragdoll off and kind of land near where the pyre is in the middle of the room. The flames have started to eat at the floor now and are up into the cupola of this rotunda. You're completely surrounded by flames. He comes for you with his claws out. The fire is spreading everywhere. What would you like to do? So you both rolled pretty high, so I'm going to let you go ahead and do what you want to do, but tell me what you want to do. So Fleur, you're right there. He's coming at you. He's going to attack you. He's batted. Elodie off to the side. Elias kind of rolled off to the side. She's where the pyre is with all that wood that's soaked in petrol. She's like lying down right next to it now, like where the flames are just sort of coming and sort of licking close by. Hey, Phoenix Iwaki, thank you so much for the raid, my man. Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. You're just in time for the grand finale, this fire-filled finale of our vampire game. So Aveline is coming at you. Elodie has rolled over. She's near this pyre of fire, of wood soaked in oil. The flames are coming in. What do the two of you want to do? Like, you have one action here to do something. What would you like to do? What is your action going to be?
Can I try to use mesmerize?
He is in a frenzy and it's not going to work.
Hmm.
In fact, that is why now he's no longer feeling the effects of what you were doing before. The frenzy that he's in now because of the Ross check is preventing him from being messed with. Hey, live from the apocalypse. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, it's like all the raids are coming in now, just at this most intensive moment. Odette, do you know what you want to do, or do you want to wait to see what Florence does?
I know what I want to do, but I do want to see what
Okay.
Fleur is going to do. I'm going to do it regardless of what she does, but I do want to have her do her thing.
Elodie is sort of my priority right now, with her being so close to the flames. I'm basically gonna go over and try to haul her up. not caring if Jaffa takes shots at me or anything. Basically, even if I die, I want her to make it out.
So you run over, you just sort of turn your back and run towards where she is. As you go, Jaffa will take a swipe at you, takes a claw, and you take a huge hit in the back. You feel his talons just go through your back, and this is aggravated damage is done by talons. It just cuts right through you, but you manage to kind of continue. You stumble down. Odette, you see this. You see Fleur kind of stumble down, but keep trying to sort of go towards her niece. Thank you, Sly Sparrow. A couple of advantages. I will say they go to Odette and Florence if you need them. Mine friend Odette, what do you want to do? The fire is spreading. It's coming really close. Fleur is going for Elodie. Her back is turned. Geoffroy Aveline is just right behind her with his claws out. He's not even paying attention to you anymore. What do you want to do?
I would like to, with all of Odette's body weight that she can gather, I want her to basically try and tackle him and with sort of shove him out of the way and in attempt to pin him down.
Okay, so let's do that. Give me, let's just do a straight up sort of brawl roll.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hit up, sorry, wrong mouse. You are going to hit up your brawl plus your strength.
So I don't have much of that.
Yeah, so you roll whatever you have, but you have advantages that you can spend for auto successes.
That's what I would like to do. I'd like to spend. Do you want me to still roll for?
Sure, if you want to get more success, because it's going to be an opposed roll, so some of his successes are going to take away from yours, and you could get ones which would cancel some of your successes.
Okay, so I have a whopping 2 dice to roll.
All right, so it's how the cookie
fine.
crumbles.
Right. Okay, what are you looking for?
I want you to give me some 7s.
I've got 1 7.
Okay.
Or I got an 8.
And how many of your advantages or willpowers are you willing to spend?
I'm willing to dump all of my willpower on this.
Okay. Since you're willing to dump everything, I will say you do that. I will say you keep 1. And you've gotten a bunch of advantages. So you just got 1 advantage. You had at least another one from before. So I will say that you jump at him. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. You jump at him. He's definitely way stronger than you are. But you kind of jump at him. And just with like pure force of will, you kind of manage to pull him back away from Fleur where he was going to do another hit. Now he turns around to you when he sees this. And he tries to slash at you. He's already got an action, so I'm not going to give him another action just now, but he kind of tries to slash at you, and you kind of try to get around. You realize you didn't so much physically really stop him as you kind of just made your presence known, and in his anger, he's kind of turning to the closest threat, right, in his frenzy. You turn around. As you do, you hear a loud crack, and you see 2 of the beams in flames from the ceiling come crashing down, and they almost hit exactly where he was standing a minute ago, and now he's kind of on, and these beams crash down and they crack the floor underneath, and this fire sort of spreading. You can see the fire is a few feet away from Fleur. Fleur, you feel that flame right up to your back. You know the flames are just up there. You grab Elodie. What do you want to do? She's trying to sort of get up, but you can tell she's about to frenzy also. Like the fire around her is just too much. You can tell she's about to kind of go crazy. What would you like to do?
Do we know where like the exit is?
Yeah, there are several exits. There's fire everywhere. If you're going to try to go through an exit, you're going to have to make a Ross check roll.
I'm going to try to sort of haul Elodie up, trying to tell her to be calm. We're going to get out of here. And I'm going to try to walk back over, hustle back over to Odette and Geoffroy. Would I be able to make it to them?
Yeah, so when you get you've got Elodie, and Elodie's really freaking out, and as you get there, you see that there's like fire. You're gonna have to kind of try to step over that. So I'm gonna ask you to make a quick courage check once more to see if you can get yourself over this bunch of wood basically that's on fire that fell from the ceiling.
Okay, what number am I looking for?
I would say it's pretty heavy, so you're gonna look for 8 because you're like The
Okay.
fire's right there, and it's all over the place now.
3.
Three successes. All right, so that's pretty good. So you managed to kind of climb over the fire. I will say you took 2 aggravated damage from his attack earlier, if you want
Okay.
to indicate that on your character sheet. You step over that. Odette, you see Fleur coming with Elodie sort of behind. You see the fire's coming. You can tell the fire's about to hit that pillory, that pyre that's set up there. And when that goes, it's going to just light up the entire place. It's going to be a huge nightmare. And he is coming for you. He is in your face. What do you want to do?
Well, I would like to look at Fleur and tell her everything in this world is infinite. And she's going to try and help shove them out. Even with him in the face, she's going to try and maybe deter him as much as she can and help them out to the exit if possible.
Okay. So I'm just going to narrate. It's getting late, so I'm going to narrate through some of this a little bit. You say this to her, and you kind of reach out and try to grab her. As you do, Geoffroy, who's right there, comes in again at you and takes a swipe at you, and he hits you, and you can feel it tear through your hip, and you kind of crumble to the ground a little bit. You manage to sort of push Fleur and Elodie away a little bit, but Elodie's starting to lose it. Like, you can see it in her face. She's starting to fight Fleur. She's clawing at Fleur. She's just kind of trying to get away from everything. She's going into frenzy. She's clawing at Fleur. She's clawing through her face. You can see huge gouges across Fleur's face from the claws that have not grown out of Elodie's hands, because she's got that flesh and bone craft thing, so she's just kind of going crazy with it. At that moment, when that sort of happens, you hear a loud crack. You feel the ground beneath you move. You see through the floor this massive hand that has just punched right through the floor and is pulling itself through, and you see this massive, dark, shadowy shape that is just busting through the floor. And you recognize in a moment Baptiste, who's just climbing out. The flames are all around. His coat catches on fire. He just keeps climbing out. He's standing between you and Geoffroy, and you can see it in his face. He's just like hyper focused. He goes and he grabs you, and you know he's just going to pull you out of here. He's going to get you out of here. You don't know how he's going to do it, but Baptiste is going to get you out of here. You have no clue what's going to happen to everybody else, because this place is on fire and it's going down.
She's going to take his hand and grip it very quickly, very tightly, because she knows that this is impending and happening now. Baptiste, don't forget that our greatest gift to God is martyrdom. It is my turn to achieve sainthood, don't you think?
Baptiste is just this. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, he's just this unreadable mass of darkness and shadows, like just sort of hovering there on top of you, like almost like it's gonna this obelisk that's gonna topple down at any moment and sort of crush you. And you just feel the hesitation, and you just feel that he's kind of trying to understand what you're saying.
Them out and get them far, far from the city.
There's a beat in a moment. God go with you. And he turns around, and as he does, Geoffroy's hand just wraps around you. You feel the claws digging into you. Fleur, you look up. You see this giant, shadowy mass that has just sort of erupted around where Odette is. You see Geoffroy just, his claws just digging right deep into her. She's looking right at you. You feel weightless for a moment as this ginormous shadow has just grabbed you and Elodie. And it's the shadow's on flame. His jacket's got flames, his hair's on fire, his flesh is burning, and he just kind of grabs you and Elodie, and you know he's about to just book right through that wall of flame that's there. And you look up, and you're seeing on her knees Odette with this beast that used to be your brother behind her, its claws sinking into her chest, and his other hand coming down and coming in and just digging right deep into her chest also. And you know these claws are just elongated inside. You know what he can do with that power that he has, and it's just sort of going through. The two of you look at each other, perhaps for the last time.
I'm gonna cry right now. He screams out for Odette, like blood curdling, voice cracking, begging her, pleading with her.
Odette responds with, "But my love, I am so tired. Let me rest, won't you?"
And Floor sort of goes limp in the grip of this creature. Tears flowing down her face.
As you're being carried away, he's jumping over the flames and he's about to run through that wall of fire, and he's got your niece in the other end. He's just by pure brute strength and size alone, he's just sort of keeping her under control. You watch Odette smile, and as the flames come and engulf her and your brother, and their skin starts to burn, one of the mosaic skylights explodes. The shards of glass rain down, and this beautiful ray of light from heaven seems to come right down. And for a moment, you can see the light the way you've never seen it shine in Odette's eyes. And then the flames envelop her. And then next thing you know, you're jumping through fire with this giant brute that's just carrying you. Jumps through the fire. You can see that the men that were outside have all scattered with this fire that has sort of raged. This giant beast sort of runs out, carries the two of you a good distance from the fire. Your niece has started to calm down. Eventually he pulls up to a little area and he very gently lays you down, and when you look over his shoulder, you can see that this is a little tiny stall, very small. You can see still the imprint of religious symbols that were perhaps attached here before, and on the front, faded and ripped, stained with age, is a poster advertising La Madone, and you see Odette's face there.
Or presses her hands to it, kind of sinking to her knees, and just cries, sobbing, like her body just racked with sobs.
Elodia's calmed down, and she clambers up and she sort of takes you and engulfs you, and as the two of you sit there holding each other just beneath the image of Odette looking down at you beatifically, this giant formless shadow just stands guard over you, looking at this place burning, looking at the rotunda falling apart as the flames destroy it. Sometime later, a man is walking through a building that has turned to ash in the wake of a massive, massive fire that actually took out most of that street corner and several of the buildings in the area. It's night. This man moves through the ashes spots something, moves forward, claps a finger, points. A couple other men in long trench coats and fedora come in, remove some ash. They find these two skeletons embraced, their faces fused together. This man looks at them and says something in Italian. Two of the men come and they take the skulls from these two bodies, lift them out of the ash. These two skulls that are fused at the mouth now because of the heat of the flames. They take these skulls to the man. A little later still, Agravain and Anton, you feel strange. You feel as if you've been stretched, pulled, folded, ripped out of something, shoved back into something else. You felt resistance. You fought it. You won. Whatever was there was weak. You were strong. You open your eyes. The first thing you notice, you have iron collars around your necks. You are naked, on your knees, chained to the front of a car, side by side. There's a chain from one neck to the other. You are literally 3 feet apart, not even. There are a group of men standing around, trench coats, Thompson machine guns, fedoras. One of them, short, comes up to you. And that's when you realize you're actually breathing. You realize that when you stop, it hurts. You find that you're now taking deep breaths for the first time in over 1,000 years. You look at each other. The man comes down, crouches in front of you. They won't last very long, you know. Maybe a day, and then they will fall apart and rot. It's just the way it is. You can't, even if they're ghouls, you can't put something new in there and hope they last. They don't. But that gives you just enough time to think on my proposal. My name is Federico Giovanni. The prince of this city is gone. Most of his people are gone. Others are dead. The time of the Camarilla in Chicago is over. Now is the time of Clan Giovanni. You too have interesting knowledge of people in this city, the other kindred, the vampires of your Camarilla. You know where they hide. You know who they are. You know who the movers and shakers are. Now my boys are going to clean up the city pretty good. But it would be helpful if we knew who to keep around and who to send down into the water. It would be good to know where people keep their things, where people hide the stuff that we want. It would be good to know the trading routes. All these things. It would be good to know, and we can learn them in time, but if you tell them to us, well, we save a lot of time. And time is money. So, I will come back tonight after the sun has set. If you cooperate, if you're good boys, the two of you, and you tell me what I need to know, maybe you get a second chance. And maybe you can join Clan Giovanni. We can always use good people like you. But if you don't, well, then we have no need of you. He looks up and you can see that the sun is almost coming up. I will leave you to think about it. At least enjoy the sunshine for the last time. It's a privilege that so few of us get to have. Think hard. And he kind of like slaps you a little bit there, Anton, and then slaps you a little bit, Agravain. Think hard. Do the right thing. Enough death already in this city. The fucking blood is gonna taste of ash for fucking decades. Disgusting. Puh. And he gets up, and he and some of the other men depart, and the two of you are chained there, and you know the sun is about to rise. A couple of the men are hanging around, keeping an eye on you.
When you look at Agravain, he's looking into the horizon and he's smiling madly. And then he's slowly going to turn his face to you, Anton. Are you ready to do it all over again?
Anton's face, which was initially very confused, looks straight in your eyes and smiles. I think I am.
And as the two of you look at each other, chained to each other, having come so far, and perhaps still with a lot of time ahead of you, you feel something you haven't felt for a very, very long time. Here, in the city of Ash, you feel the sun on your skin as dawn rises. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we end our little vampire story.
Yeehaw!
I'm glad
Oh,
I
we
made
heard-
Myriad cry.
Everybody
got her.
okay?
You
Everybody
got her
good?
good. I definitely didn't cry at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Everyone all
That
right?
was amazing.
Mhm.
Yes, more than all right.
Amazing.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Are you going to make it, Myriad?
Oh, you weren't expecting that, were you?
Oh no, I fully expected Odette to die. I thought Flora was gonna die with her though.
Nope.
Odette had other plans.
Yep.
Congratulations on Odette being the only one, it seems, that stayed dead.
Yeah.
She was tired, y'all. I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
It's hard business hauling the Lord around,
Yeah.
carrying such grace.
Truly. Oh, Myriad, you did so good.
Yeah. You okay?
Yeah.
Well, when we started this game, I was given one very simple directive. You wanted to smooch and you wanted to cry ugly.
Got what you
Check.
wanted.
Check.
You were all absolutely amazing. Thank you so much also for just sort of rolling with it there at the end and going along with the little story. Thank you very much. It always feels really weird when we finish something this intense and whatnot to kind of jump into, hey, look, yeah, follow me here and do this, do that. But it's kind of the nature of the beast. I think it would be remiss if we didn't give you a chance to tell these people who you are. You're such wonderful people and such wonderful performers. So we will take some time after the stream to talk amongst ourselves and decompress and sort out through the emotions. But for now, if you're up to it, if you're not up to it, that's fine too. We can totally skip the usual.
I'm fine.
You're
She's
fine.
fine.
I'm
She's
fine.
Fine. Walk it off.
Rub some
Okay,
dirt on
Dad.
it. Rub some dirt on it and get back in there.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
If you rub some dirt on the sandwich, we know someone's gonna eat it.
Yeah.
Somebody,
Yeah.
no, it's sand. It's not just dirt. It's sand.
Same fucking difference, Bones. Jesus
No,
Christ.
it's not. It's different. It's different texture in my mouth.
They're
My
both
mouthfeel.
unwanted crunchies.
In the
Okay.
mouth. In the mouth.
Mouth.
Thanks so much, everyone. So yeah, let's go around and let's do that. And let us start with the one who actually went away for real in a blaze of glory, Bones. Little Odette. She will be missed.
She was the best. That's
She
probably one of my favorite characters I've ever played.
She was wonderful. You did such a good job.
Thank you.
And the
She was a lot of
cosplay.
fun.
The cosplay. Off the
I have-
hook.
We all look great. We're all a great looking bunch.
Except me, but it's
love it.
okay. I have all the power.
You're okay. You're
All
doing
right.
your best, buddy.
I know. I'm trying. I got a Black Sabbath shirt on.
Hey, that's bitching.
You know?
Yeah.
Styling and profiling. Bones, tell us who you are, what you got going
Yes.
on, where people can find you and see you cry ugly some more.
Hi, I'm LittleBones309. I'm an indie gamer here on Twitch. You can find me all over the web as LittleBones309. If you're into games that you don't normally see on your Steam front page, come to my channel, especially on Wednesdays where we do Wishlist Wednesdays and we can check out a new game every single Wednesday. And sometimes I do cry, and we do have a cry counter that's into the hundreds, I believe. So check that out. And I'm not banned from COD anymore, so look out for some COD content. I'm released from the baby jail.
Good old Little Bones, bring in the COD content that everyone hungers for.
Nobody wants this content, but I'm making
do.
it anyway.
I want this content.
Yeah.
You can also find me all around the web playing TTRPGs with my very best friends
There you go. And smooching them
and smooching them
on the mouth.
on the mouth.
Thank you so much, Bones. You were absolutely fantastic, absolutely wonderful. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful little Odette scene there, Dan. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Anytime. Next up, someone who has managed to stay alive, but finds himself once more chained. It seems like you just can't get rid of that chain, Anton. Mornian, what's up, my friend?
Not much. Again, morning. Anton was a freaking blast to play. I had an amazing time. Thank you very much for inviting me, Bleak, and doing such an amazing job
Thank you, sir.
with everything. You can find me typically in one of these lovely ladies' chats, being a general pain in their ass. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much. Super appreciate you taking the time to come and play with us, Mornian. It was a lot of fun seeing you bring Anton to horrible life. Just a bad guy, but you know, just doing his best. Just you know, just living the life.
Just a little guy.
You know, it's just what you're gonna ask of a Greek mercenary. You know, he's just bring me the wine and the good times. So thank you so much for doing that for us. Myriad, your tears were very moving. But even
Thanks.
before we reached a point where you cried, you were fantastic, and you did an amazing job with Floor. And
Thank you.
I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time. Don't take me crying as me having a bad time. That usually means I had a really good time.
You never know with these guys. So tell us where when wow.
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 Hi guys, I'm Myriad, or Myriad, whatever you want to call me is fine. Don't call me Myriad_X, though that's my government name. You can catch me here on twitch.tv/Myriad_X, playing a bunch of games. I play a lot of games. I don't normally cry on stream. Most of the time, unless the game's really good, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I've been playing a whole lot of Baldur's Gate, and then other than that, you can catch me playing various TTRPGs with my pals all across the internet.
Are your lovers in Baldur's Gate also sacrificing themselves for you?
It hasn't come to that yet, but now I have a fear.
Yeah, Myriad, you want to tell everyone how many times you got people to commit suicide?
They're not my lovers, though. I play a sorcerer. I have very high charisma. It's not my fault that I talk people into killing themselves, okay?
Oh, it's
The
amazing.
things people say when the camera's recording. Well, I hope you find someone willing to sacrifice themselves for you there also.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You totally deserve it. Finally, I guess the question on everybody's mind, well, the question on my mind is, will we see the face behind the mask of Darling Creepshow?
Hi, I'm Darling Creepshow.
I guess not.
No one wants to see this fucking horror show that's under here right now. I suggest the cast to it after stream is done.
It's a thing.
It's a rule. It's a rule I have with myself. Torture your cast with your hideous monster face when all is said and done. Check will do tonight. Blake, thanks for having me again for another awesome story. I've been wanting to play Vampire the Masquerade for a long fucking time, and you made that happen, and you made it happen with like basically my dream cast, all my friends, and yeah, that was pretty cool. And you let me be a little rat boy, which is all a guy like me could ask for, so that's pretty freaking cool. But yeah, thanks so much for making this happen, man. It's fucking rad. I'm always happy to be here. What am I doing? Sunday. It's a big day over on the Creep channel. If you're not following me, come follow me. Sunday night, we got a brand new game that we're rolling out. Duro, our lovely DM Duro, will be a lovely referee Duro for Cyberpunk 2020. We're taking it old school. Bones is going to be over there playing with us. Some other awesome people. I think Creature's in here now. He's going to be playing with us. And Valis should be in here too. They're all here. We're all playing together. Cyberpunk 2020. We're doing the classic Land of the Free module. I'm super excited. It's a whole story about a journey from New York to Night City. So you get like all the juicy cyberpunk content, and I'm super excited. We're going to be doing a giveaway for a Cyberpunk Red Core rulebook, the nice little hardcover edition. So yeah, come check that out. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern this Sunday night. I'm really excited about it. Most people who know me know that Cyberpunk is my ultimate favorite.
There you go. I'm looking forward to it also. It's going to be a lot of awesome. Thanks so much, Creep. I mean, you say that I did this, but I really didn't do much. I was just like, hey, Creep, you want to play a game? And you were like, yeah, let's play this game. And here are all these fantastic people to play it. And I was like, fuck, this is like
Can
a fucking...
my friends come kick cans in the parking lot with me too?
It was like, fucking full service. It was pretty awesome. But
yeah, and
you.
I messaged him. I was like, hey, you guys want to throw rocks through windows with me at Bleak's house?
And they all came, and now I have no more windows. Story of my life.
We're very good at throwing rocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Throw some good
I
rocks.
love rocks.
It's all those advantages we got over the course of this.
We can get the rocks out of Bones' mouth first.
I gotta fight her for the rocks.
I will put dice in my mouth. This is a threat.
Those the
you
ones
hold
that
her down and just give her a solid shake.
Those the ones that Myriad just picked up with her toes.
Yes.
God, all right. Before Bones chokes live on fucking Twitch and I get banned.
Good mouthfeel.
Good mouthfeel. Yo, would you like some sand on?
I liked it a lot.
I'm deceased. I am fucking dead. You like a little sand with your fucking math rocks, you weirdo.
Fucking, I love you guys. Hey, thanks everyone for hanging out, for watching. We super appreciate you. Thanks for all the bits and all the follows and all that good stuff. You're all fucking rock stars in my fucking book. We're going to go ahead and raid someone cool. I'm not too sure. Probably a Magic RPG. They're out there doing some action, so we're going to go over there. Give them raids, so give them a little bit of love. Thank you so much. We will... this game is over. I'm doing a Penny Dreadful game on Wednesdays here with a bunch of excellent people. Also, we started that last week. We got another 3 weeks of that. I'm also about to start a new Lord of the Rings campaign over on Guild Superior. And we're not going to say too much because fucking who knows. But there are, loose talks about perhaps doing some more of this thing here a little later. So we'll see what happens. You never know. I mean, the dead rise. the dead rise. Thank you, Insomnia, Dart, Osric, Garil, everyone who was in here, Beth earlier, and Miko and everybody else. Thank you so much for hanging. Please stick around for the raid. We're going to go out and decompress and suck on some rocks. And, we'll see you around. We'll
It's
see
good
you
for
around
you.
the bend. We'll see you around the bend. Thanks so much. Ciao.